It has been said that women hold half the sky. They make up 50% of the human population, but they are grossly underrepresented and their potentials astonishingly untapped the world over. In the case of India, a number of constitutional and legal safeguards have been adopted over the centuries in the colonial and post-colonial era to empower women. However, laws alone have proven to be inadequate. There is continuous need to enlighten society, jettison time-worn practices, and bring down walls of ignorance. The Grand Festival of India at 75, with its emphasis on citizen participation and inclusivity, provides an excellent opportunity for the women of India to advance their agenda and expand their footprints in all areas of life. As the festival is being promoted around the diaspora, the Indian High Commission in Kuala Lumpur, in collaboration with the Malaysia-India Heritage Group, is glad to bring to you a voice of hope from this part of the world as an example of the kind of outreach that the Mahotsav seeks to achieve. With us here today is Dr. Sushila Menon, President of the Malaysian Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators, who will present her perspectives on Indian women, a force for change in the world today.
I was brought up to believe that women and men are equal in this world. My parents never differentiated the way they treated their boys and their girls. We were equal. We had to do the same chores, and we were punished equally for any wrongdoings. There was never any comment alluding to certain things that the boys could get away with and not the girls. Why I'm starting with this is because I believe this is where all the differentiation begins. I've seen too many households where the girls have to undertake certain chores like cooking and cleaning and washing, but the boys don't have to, only by virtue of the fact that they are boys. So how do you think they will grow up? What will their mindset be? Naturally, that the girls have to mind the house while the boys go out, work and achieve in their lives. So, lesson number 1 is, let's bring up our children correctly. Tell your daughters, talk to them, make them believe that they can go out there and achieve, fulfill their dreams and aim for the sky. Ladies, there is not a single country in the world that has achieved gender equality. But many changes have come about to benefit women. Laws have been passed, employment mindset has shifted, and attitudes towards the position of women have changed. And yet, if you look at the numbers, only a small minority of women have benefited from the changes that have occurred. Gender equality is always a hard-fought battle. Now, if you look at India's ranking in the Gender Development Index by the United Nations Development Programme, India stands at number 153 out of a total of 166 countries, way below some of our third world neighbors such as Bangladesh and Nepal. Now, I suppose that this can be because India has very large rural areas where there is a glaring lack of awareness of basic civil liberties, and there is a son preference culture which impacts the sex ratio. Access to school education is another big problem. Look, even menstruating women are isolated even to this day in many rural areas. There was a study done across 14 prominent industries such as construction, energy, consumer products and such, constituting some 2,300 public listed companies. This data was published by Bloomberg in 2019. It was found that women on average represent just over 20% of the total employees of these companies, constituting only 18% of management and holding a mere 13% of board seats. But ladies, don't let all this information depress you. Look at it positively. We can only go upwards from here. We have started to show that we can be a major force for change in the world, if only we put our minds to it. We all know that women empowerment has become a buzz phrase in the last few years. So, what is women empowerment? It is a fundamental human right. It is the means of promoting women's sense of self-worth, their ability to determine their own choices, and their right to influence social change for themselves and for others. From this, we can understand one thing. The force for change starts with us as women. Globally, the women empowerment movement saw three main phases. The first began in the late 19th century, where suffrage was a key feature. The second wave was in the 60s, which included the sexual revolution and the role of women in society. The third wave of feminism is often seen as beginning in the 1990s, and it has been continuing to break new ground in recent years. World leaders agree that human rights can never be fully upheld unless they're also enjoyed by all women and girls. But mind you, we Indian women have had some pretty impressive history. Way back in the 18th century, we had the Queen of Malwa. She was a philosopher and she championed the cause of education for women. As far back as the mid-19th century, we had Anandi Gopal Joshi, the first female doctor in India and the first Indian woman to obtain a medical degree in the USA. We had Chandramukhi Basu, India's first female graduate, Cornelia Sorabji, first female lawyer, Justice Anna Chandi, first female High Court judge. And there was Muthulakshmi Reddy, the first female legislator in India, and she was the first female student to be admitted into a men's college, and she was also a first woman house surgeon. And how can we forget the Rani of Jhansi, an epitome of bravery? Captain Prem Mathur, first female commercial pilot in India, and she won the national air race. Of course, the great Indira Gandhi. Kalpana Chawla, the first Indian woman in space. Ladies, we have so many great athletes, artists, legendary singers, scientists, writers, and the list just goes on and on. Look, there were women before us who had to literally fight, claw their way up, stand up for their rights and be strong. We have it so much easier these days in the sense that the world understands that we women have our rights. Our base is so much higher now. We don't have to fight so hard. Now, given that as a foundation, we should not be our own enemies now when it comes to dreaming and achieving. We have so many good examples, so many mentors, so many ways of acquiring skills and knowledge. We just need to go out there and get it and do it. Internationally, we have made waves too, starting with the most recent, Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States of America. Geeta Gopinath, the Harvard economist who became the first Indian woman to assume the position of Chief Economist at the IMF. Sky warrior Avani Chaturvedi, biotech pioneer Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, ranked 60th on the Forbes list amongst the most powerful women in the world. Now, she's the richest self-made woman billionaire of India. Padma Shri warrior of Cisco Systems, the lovable Pepsi queen Indra Nooyi. Now, she was ranked among the world's most powerful women, and I'm a great fan of hers. In India itself, we have women who have shattered the glass ceiling and influenced change in 2020. Among the familiar names, some of whom have been ranked among the most powerful women of the world would be people like K.K. Shailaja, the Kerala Health Minister whose exceptional work in handling the COVID pandemic was recognized by the United Nations. Nirmala Sitaram, powerful Finance Minister, ex-Defense Minister. Roshni Malhotra, chairperson of the IT giant HCL Technologies. Zia Modi, recognized as one of the topmost lawyers in India and abroad. Amira Shah, powerful businesswoman of Metropolis Healthcare. Now, from these amazing women, we can see that the sky is the limit. It It is not just about women achievers. We must recognize the centuries of hard work by valiant women who lived before us, who paved the path for us and led us to where we are now. Savitribai Phule, who championed education for women of all castes. Fatima Sheikh, regarded as the first Muslim woman teacher of India. Tarabai Shinde, the activist who protested the patriarchy and caste discrimination. Ramabai Ranade, who trained thousands of women in various skills, making them self-reliant and financially independent. So many Indian women have led causes leading to change. Vandana Shiva, Indira Jaisingh, Vrinda Grover, Vijay Penkuttu, Kamala Basin, and the list goes on. Of course, ladies, a necessary force for change in the world is education. It is said that a woman educated is a generation educated. Girls who are educated can pursue meaningful work and contribute to their country's economy later in life. Believe me, it is not a coincidence that across cultures, women have been hailed as the prime movers of family and society. It has been proven in the corporate world that a positive correlation exists between women's representation in senior management and corporate profitability. It is somehow such that the more women you have on management, the better the profitabilities of the company. And there's also a positive correlation between women's representation on boards and their corporate performance in ESG matters, that is, environmental, social, and corporate governance. You know, there are many ways in which companies can help to unleash women's potential as change makers. Of course, there are inhibiting factors. These are problems related to work-life balance, unwelcoming corporate culture, lack of career mobility, and such. Nevertheless, many leading companies have taken targeted actions to remove some of these barriers and support women's contribution to business growth and transformation. And I can name some of them. They're names that you yourselves will recognize, names like Bank of America, Pfizer, Nestle, Visa, Unilever, Prudential, Kimberly-Clark, Honeywell, Hilton, Fidelity, Facebook, and many others. Such companies have, number one, a top-down commitment to building a diverse workforce and creating an inclusive culture, including zero tolerance for bullying or sexual harassment. Number two, they take a holistic and systematic approach to women's representation, ensuring equal hiring and promotion opportunities at different levels. Number three, they set transparent targets for increased female employment and leadership. I think these companies realize that failing to maximize women's talent to lead, manage, and build retards global economic growth and fails humankind. So, it is a fact that there has been a great deal of progress, but still, sadly, women continue to face discrimination and even violence in every part of the world. And COVID-19 has not helped. It threatens to reverse much of the progress made by increasing women's unpaid care work. With schools and childcare services closed, women and girls are taking on the brunt of household chores and caregiving responsibilities. Women's labor force participation has decreased, and their vulnerability to violence has dramatically increased. And don't forget, women also represent 70% of healthcare workers globally, and therefore they are more exposed to the virus on the front line. But even in dealing with COVID, women leaders have provided the most successful responses to the pandemic, and women-led countries have a 6 times lower death rate than those led by male counterparts in similar countries. Why do you think that is? Because women consult and collaborate with scientists and experts. They don't claim to know everything. It's pretty much like men hating to ask for directions, and we all know how much they loathe that. Women put people's lives first, and they are more transparent, flexible, and willing to admit mistakes. It's time for women to reject inferior status. It's time for them to demand equality and proceed confidently with their ambitions and success. Ladies, there are strong reasons for optimism. We are witnessing an age when women can credibly argue that they should be elected to the most powerful positions in their countries. Women can become generals, we can win Oscars, we can be a Fortune 500 or a Forbes personality. Much of the research that tagged women as the weaker sex was flawed or biased. Scientific research shows that women possess intellectual capabilities equal to their male counterparts. Also, it has been proven that women have a distinct edge when it comes to resilience and long-term survival. Consulting firm McKinsey & Company estimates that the regional economy in Asia would gain as much as $4.5 trillion in annual GDP by 2025 if only women were no longer sidelined in the Asian workforce. It is time to move beyond seeing a woman as a symbol of society's honor and accept the fact that she is the prime force for change. To all the ladies out there, remember, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. We need to restructure our own perception of how we view ourselves, and then we can step up and take the lead. There is no limit to what we as women can accomplish. You can be a force for change in the world today. Thank you.